Hello and welcome to Climbing Daily. Today we've got an interview with two legends of the climbing and mountaineering world, Adrian and Alan Burgess. They were speaking at Kendal Mountain Film Festival and we caught up with them for a few stories.
We are often known as the Burgess Twins. I'm Alan Burgess, he's Adrian Burgess. We were born in Holmfirth, Yorkshire and grew up there. Went to college in the age of 18 to 21 or something in Chester. And then we climbed around here for a lot. And then we moved to North America. Me via Canada, so I have a Canadian passport also. Adrian married an American lady in 1981, I think. But we've always climbed with British climbers.
We got into climbing kind of in a strange way, because first of all, because we're twins, we don't need to have another playmate, right? And so we used to hike around the moors of Yorkshire, and then we'd see these gritstone edges, and occasionally we'd see people climbing on them. But there weren't that many climbers in those days. But then we went to the local library and we found two books. One was a how to do it book, and the other one was a guidebook to a gritstone cliff. So we went, well, we don't really need more than that. We've got a guidebook to do it, it tells us where to go, and we've got this other book that tells us how to do it. So we got my mother's washing line and took off and started doing it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's the traditional way, the mother's washing line. I think it was a length of size.
It was a length of size, yeah.
But, it was obviously not a climbing rope. The tradition at that time was to join a climbing club. And that climbing club could have been in a city or it could have been in a university. Ours was the Phoenix in Huddersfield. And so there was more or less an apprenticeship system where some older guys, like 25 years old or 30, really old, they would just watch you and maybe take you on a couple of longer climbs so that you became capable and competent rock climbers. Then in the winter, you would go to Scotland because that's what your peers did, and you'd climb ice on Ben Nevis and in Glencoe. And then of course the dream was to go to the Alps, which we did around
at
the age of 17. I remember going to the grammar school headmaster and saying, can we take 2 weeks off because we're going to the Alps? And of course his understanding of the Alps was Whymper and the Matterhorn and death in the mountains, and he shook our hand very formal as though he's never going to see us again. And we went to the Alps with this guy who was we were 17, he by then was probably 24, 25. We did some good climbs that first year, and then the tradition after that was you climbed in the Alps and then you went to the larger ranges, super alpine, Alaska, Bolivia in South America, Peru, or down in Patagonia. Basically wilder mountain ranges using the skills you'd learnt in the Alps, up to 20,000 feet, not above that. Not Himalayan in scale, really.
When we started climbing in the Himalaya, then we were not the best technical climbers in the country by any means. But what we did have as an advantage was a tremendous fitness. So when we went to the Himalaya, we both had resting heart rates of 40,
or
lower or under. And so a lot of the Himalayan climbing is aerobic and that kind of thing. And so we acclimatized quite comfortably and could move at high altitude probably faster than many of our friends because the hearts weren't ticking as fast. We began brewing ale at home, and then we thought, well, why shouldn't we just brew beer in base camp? And it's a bit of a laugh, but it was also had its practical sides, you know, if you think about it, because on expeditions, you have these big blue drums that are waterproof that you put your personal equipment in, you know, for carrying to base camp. And so it was a perfect kind of vat for brewing beer. And so and beer's mainly water. So, so there's water all around base camp, so, you know, you just have to prepare it correctly. And I mean, it had a social context, because the team could sit around.
It wasn't the best beer.
No, but it had alcohol in it.
And it wasn't poisonous.
No. And often the Sherpas learned to warm it, and it actually tasted pretty good warm, you know. So, yeah, we got a reputation for brewing beer in base camp, because not everybody did. And this Spanish team showed up, okay, and about 3 weeks after we'd arrived.
Just after fermentation.
And yeah, so we offered them, we said, well, you could have coffee or tea or maybe a beer. And they looked at one another, beer? Here? And they said, we can never repay for beer because we don't have any, you know. We said, oh, don't worry about it, man. We got masses and we've got the means to make more. So they all sat there and they came and they looked at us and went, man, these guys are organized. Where is climbing now?
I think it's very varied. At the beginning, when we first started climbing, you were a rock climber, but you also were an alpinist probably, or were looking to climb. It depended on circumstances, but you did both. You did all of the above. Now, you start climbing a rock climbing wall in a gym, and you may never leave that, or you may just go bolted climbing in Spain and France. And that, what single pitch, you may never do multi-pitch climbing. You may never have a rack and climb traditional climbing cracks. You may never do that. And that's okay. But it's taken the commitment, lifestyle commitment, physical danger commitment out of a big chunk of it. And that's fine, that's fine. We don't mind. We use that aspect for training.
But things have changed in climbing so much since we've been climbing. For example, in the Alps, we could never afford to get helicopter insurance. So what did you do to be able to get some rescue potential? You borrowed as much gear from all your friends as you could. And when you never showed up in 4 days, they'd come looking for you to get their gear back.
And I think in the Alps, the climbing certainly changed because of global warming. When you used to look back in a deep granite chimney, you would 30 feet back in there, you'd see green, hard ice. That's gone. That was the glue. So now you're getting not just rockfall, which is normal in mountains, you're getting half the mountainside falls off. So there aren't that many people climbing in the Alps in summer anymore. If they are, they're training to walk up Mont Blanc, or they're doing the haute route from Chamonix to Zermatt. That's what the guides are doing. And some people may be rock climbing. They may be doing some rock climbs, but very carefully. They're staying away from the big mixed ice faces. Most of those are probably climbed now in March, April.
Which would make it, in the old days, a winter ascent.
A winter ascent, but now it's not as cold in winter, so you're getting better climbing conditions. Yeah. And also the ice climbing equipment's way better. So Adrian and I are here today to be guest speakers at the Kendal Film Festival on invitation from the president of the British Alpine Club. I would say, you know, it's a film festival. The photographs you're going to see, some of them are 50 years old, slides. It's not in the sense of modern 35mm movie.
Cheers for that, guys. That is one of the best homemade beer brewing stories I've ever heard. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.